he was.
Well, you know, I mean, the thing is, we all know we all read the reports that many high school students don't even know the geography of the country, much less the history. And you've got to get them in the building, and you've got to appeal to them at some level where they'll pay attention.
We want them to be inspired.
It's tough, isn't it?
And I really believe that knowing history in a democracy is part of being a citizen. You know, because we as part of our dedication ceremony, we had a swearing in of new citizens, a naturalization ceremony, and we want to do that several times because it's just a great setting to do that. And if you listen to the oath of citizenship, it's really quite powerful. What people are asked, and maybe all of us should, at some point, renew our vows to be a citizen in the country. But I think and coincidentally, there was an article in the Times front page article about how historians in Russia were having a lot of problems gaining access to archival information about the Stalinist period. And it just reinforced something that I wrote about, that having access to history is really part of understanding who we are and what it means to be.
You kind of have to dole it out in the portions they can
take. Right. You can't hit people over the head with it. We have, for example, the lunch counter from Greensboro, North Carolina, that was the site of a civil rights movement.
You helped me, because this is where I had a question I wanted to ask.
Okay.
And it kind of goes into Barack Obama, and I was reading how the Museum of African American History is already starting to collect Obama memorabilia. And I was thinking, there must be a real tug of war between you and this other museum, because I was all prepared to ask you, what do you want from Barack Obama?
Well, we have two curators.
If you got it, they might take it away from you.
No, I think there's going to be more than enough to collect from.
So what do you most want from Barack Obama, if you could have one thing?
Well, I don't know one thing. I think his interest in
BlackBerry.
No, there are some other people who we've asked for their BlackBerry, and I think we'll wait till they give them to us, and then we'll.
Please, okay. But anyway, what would you like from Barack Obama?
But from, I think something, since he has talked about his great interest in Abraham Lincoln, and if there's something that we can make that connection. That would be interesting if it was.
But from the '08 campaign?
Well, we have two curators who every 4 years go to the primary states, and they've been doing this since, I think, 1980. And they go to the primary states, and then they go to the convention cities, and they collect from all the candidates. And then as the field narrows, they collect from the
Have
two
you
final.
collected anything from the '08 campaign?
Yes.
Personally?
Yes.
What did you collect?
Me personally, no. But what the museum has collected, and we have it on display at the entrance to the museum.
If people want
banners
to be
and buttons and hats. And
what should they grab from the inauguration? Since it is going to be such a historical inauguration.
It's always hard to tell. Value. First of all, we never put a value on our collection. But rarity and condition are two of the elements
keep your tickets if you are so lucky to have them. But back to the Woolworths counter.
Yes.
It would seem to me that the Museum of African American History would want the counter, the Woolworths lunch counter.
Yeah.
And does that ever come up?
No, it hasn't. And my position has always been that
they weren't open when you got
That's right. But my position is that we, as the American History Museum, have the mission to tell the whole story of American history. So that includes all ethnic.
So it's yours and you're keeping it.
Yes.
There you go. Okay, well that's just what I wanted to know.
Right.
You've got so many hats, and I didn't want to let our time run out without talking to you about, because this goes back to your time in Pennsylvania, but you're on the United Flight 93 Memorial Commission. I believe you've been on it from the very beginning.
Yes.
And that's had its own bumpy road in terms of acceptance. And if everybody doesn't know, I'm sure everybody does, but at the site in Pennsylvania, not far from where you used to live, actually.
Well, I lived in Harrisburg, but it's a couple of hours away. It's a big state.
Okay, it's a big state.
Yeah.
What do I know? But where Flight 93 went down, they're building a memorial.
Yes.
And the commission, you put out, anybody could submit.
There was a competition, a design competition.
You had more than 1,000.
Yes.
And you picked one from somebody named. You don't have
Murdoch
to,
is
sorry,
his last name. No, that's all right. But I'm trying to remember his first name. But it's
okay.
Los Angeles
But you picked someone,
landscape
they came
architect.
Up with a plan,
Yes.
And it's and it. I don't know what words I can use to describe, because if I use the wrong word, there'll be a firestorm.
Where the crash occurred is a reclaimed coal mine.
Right.
And there's a basin or like a bowl-shaped feature.
You don't
in
use
landscape.
the word crescent, right?
No, I don't. I never did.
Right.
But
that's the word. That's the flash word.
But the landscape design follows the contours of the landscape, and it happens to be a bowl shape, and and part of the design includes a series of red maples or some type of tree that would symbolize the 40 passengers and crew who died at the crash site. And some people, when they saw the drawings,
there's an opening in this.
Where the
That's supposed to be the flight plan, and then there's a spot.
Yes.
That I can't tell if it's a pond or trees where the impact.
Yes.
Was
that's just a grove of trees. There's no pond there.
Right.
But unfortunately, the architect called his design a crescent of embrace, and we never embraced that title, but in fact we told. When the design was accepted, we said, well, we don't put a name on this anyhow, and we're going to drop that name. But enough people saw that, and they said, well, this is a tribute to the hijackers.
They said it was Islamic.
Yes.
They said it was the Islamic symbol, and that it was pointing to Mecca.
Yes.
And I remember somebody said it also pointed to the Vatican.
We took it seriously, and the National Park Service is really managing this whole memorial process.
But it was a small number of people.
Yeah, very
right?
small.
But what do you
Maybe
do
2 or
in this
3.
situation?
Well, in this, you have to nurture your critics, I think, and I think you have to.
One of them was a family member, one of the most vocal, right?
Yes, and in fact, he was on the design committee that had approved the design. Only after
he saw it. Then when he saw
well, after he saw the criticism, he said, I never liked this anyhow, and so there was some misgivings. I think there has been modifications in the design, partly because of the criticism, to just make sure there was no confusion, and also because of once we got into actually testing the soils and doing some more environmental investigation, just what was feasible to build on that site. So it's a long way from a design competition to the actual construction.
And you still hope to open it in...
the first phase will open in 2011.
Right, on
for
the
the
anniversary.
10th anniversary, yeah.